What if I told you the entire future of the Atlanta Falcons might be shifting this very moment, and almost no one sees it coming? What if one move, one bold swing, could turn a wounded defense into a nightmare for every quarterback in the NFC South? Because right now, deep inside league circles, a rumor is growing louder by the hour. A rumor that could change the balance of power in the division for years. And at the center of it stands a name that sends a chill through offensive tackles everywhere: TJ Watt. Not a dream. Not a fantasy. A real, growing possibility. Reports are swirling that Atlanta has quietly entered the conversation, testing the waters, asking questions, weighing the cost of adding one of the most violent, relentless pass rushers the league has ever seen. If this becomes real, it might reshape not just 2025, but the entire arc of this franchise. For years, the Falcons have watched their defense bend, crack, and break under the pressure of inconsistent pass rush. Injuries. Rotations. Moments where the front seven just didn't have the one unstoppable force to tilt the field. But imagine this, a red and black number 90 bursting off the edge like a storm front. A defense that doesn't wait, it attacks. A team that doesn't react, it dictates. That's what Watt brings. In 2025, even in a season interrupted by injuries around him, he's been a wrecking ball: 15 solo tackles, 22 assists, 6 sacks, 37 pressures, and a career total of 120 sacks. But numbers barely capture him. What changes the temperature of a game? He pushes offensive lines into panic. He forces quarterbacks into mistakes they don't usually make. And if he steps onto a field wearing a Falcon on his helmet, players like Bud Walker instantly become more dangerous. One man draws a double team, and suddenly everyone else becomes faster, freer, deadlier. So why would Pittsburgh even consider it? Because the Steelers are suffocating under the weight of their own roster. They're fighting the cap with barely $3.7 million in space. Their defense is leaking points. Justin Fields is headed toward a monster extension. Their offense is begging for reinforcements after injuries to stars like George Pickens. And in a rebuild, sometimes even legends become trade pieces. Which is why Atlanta's name is rising at the perfect moment. The Falcons have the space, over $18 million. They have the need, a pass rush that ranks among the league's least imposing. And they have the urgency, a roster built to win now, not someday. If Watt arrives, the math changes overnight. Sack totals could jump by over 14 next season. Points allowed could drop from 26.3 to nearly 20 per game. Rushing defense tightens, cutting yards per carry from 4.3 to near 3.5. That's not just improvement. That's transformation. A defense like that doesn't survive games. It ends them. And so here we are, the Falcons standing on the edge of a moment that could define everything that comes next. One decision away from turning a weakness into their greatest weapon. One phone call away from reshaping the fear factor in the NFC South. If this rumor becomes reality, every team in the division will feel the ground shift beneath them. This isn't just a trade. It's a turning point. If TJ Watt truly enters Atlanta's orbit, the impact isn't small. It isn't subtle. It isn't just another roster move. It's a shockwave. A shockwave that would ripple through every layer of the Falcons' defense, from the front seven to the deep corners, changing the way this team breathes, reacts, and fights. Because for years, Atlanta's run defense has cracked at the worst possible moments. Missed fits. Broken contain. Linebackers forced to cover too much ground. And without a fear-creating edge presence, the entire unit has been stretched thin. But one man off the edge can change everything. With Watt on the field, defenders like Walker don't have to play two roles at once. They don't have to live in the chaos between the line of scrimmage and the second level. They can drop, read, react, and punish. That alone could slice big plays in half. From 16 per game to single digits. The thing about TJ Watt, he's not just productive. He's predictable in the best possible way. You know he's bringing pressure. You know he's collapsing pockets. You know he's going to ruin someone's Sunday. And somehow, teams still can't stop him. 6 sacks this season. 120 in his career. A player who doesn't fade, he detonates. The bull rush? It's not a move for him. It's a weapon, landing with nearly an 89% success rate. When he comes forward, offensive tackles don't just lose ground, they lose hope. Pressure? He creates it on more than half of passing plays. Half. That means half the time a quarterback drops back, someone is already in his face. Already in his space. Already forcing him to make a decision he doesn't want to make. That's how turnovers happen. That's how games flip. That's how teams crumble. The Steelers' crossroads for Pittsburgh, this isn't about wanting to let go. It's about needing to. A franchise staring at a financial wall. A franchise trying to build around Justin Fields. A franchise needing space, nearly $22 million worth, to reshape itself for the long haul. A second-round pick in 2026 helps the rebuild. Cap relief accelerates it. And sometimes, the hardest moves are the ones that keep the future alive. And for Atlanta, it's everything. Drop what into this defense, and the transformation is instant. Sacks jump by nearly 20%. Pressure rate skyrockets past 50%. Quarterbacks like Baker Mayfield start making mistakes they never make when clean. Mayfield's numbers collapse under pressure, and what is pressure incarnate? This isn't just an upgrade. This is a nightmare for the NFC South. The secondary becomes faster because it has to cover for less time. The linebackers become freer because they aren't cleaning up chaos every snap. The run defense tightens because offensive lines are terrified of leaving what unblocked. Yards per carry drop. Explosive plays evaporate. Close games tilt in Atlanta's direction. The postseason factor: the Falcons don't just get a pass rusher. They get a closer. Someone who has walked into playoff atmospheres and taken them over, like his 3-sack, 1-touchdown masterpiece against Cincinnati in 2024. Someone who knows how to tilt momentum. Someone who knows how to lead. And that leadership becomes the real long-term prize. What isn't just a star? He's a standard. Young players grow faster next to him. The defensive line becomes sharper because he raises expectations. Walker's development accelerates. The entire culture shifts. This isn't a one-year jolt. This is the beginning of a defensive identity Atlanta has been chasing for years. For Atlanta, this moment is bigger than one superstar. Bigger than a trade. Bigger than a roster move. This is a chance to redefine who the Falcons are. For years, the defense has been searching for an identity, something sharp, something violent, something that makes opponents hesitate the second they step onto the field. TJ, what represents that identity? A front seven with what doesn't just play football, it announces its presence before the ball is even snapped. It forces offenses to prepare differently, to call differently, to breathe differently. But every transformation has a price. And this one comes down to a single question: what are the Falcons willing to sacrifice for the player who could change everything? A second-round pick in 2026 may sound like a bargain, almost too small for a player of what's magnitude. But the real statement isn't the price. The real statement is the message: Atlanta is done waiting. Atlanta wants to win now. Their cap space is tight. Their roster is talented but incomplete. Their window is cracking open, but only barely. A move like this would slam that window wide open. The NFC South would feel it first. This division has been drifting in uncertainty. Saints, Buccaneers, Panthers. Every team fighting to claim a throne nobody has truly owned. But drop what into Atlanta's defense, and suddenly, the balance shifts. Suddenly, the Falcons become the team nobody wants to see in December. Suddenly, every quarterback in the division hears footsteps they can't ignore. With what, the Falcons don't just become better. They become dangerous. Division games tighten. Close games tilt. The playoffs stop being a dream and start becoming a map. And Atlanta finally has a compass. The difference between good and great: every season, there's a moment where a franchise decides what it wants its story to be. Some choose to rebuild. Some choose to survive. But the great ones choose to strike. This move is a strike. It isn't safe. It isn't cautious. It isn't comfortable. It's bold. It's loud. It's the kind of move great teams make when they're tired of sitting in the shadows of almost. Because what isn't just a pass rusher, he's a culture shift wrapped in shoulder pads. He changes standards. He changes expectations. He changes belief. Young defenders grow faster around him. Veterans sharpen. Coaches adjust. The entire heartbeat of the team quickens. This isn't a one-season rental. This is a new era forming right in front of them. The beginning of something, whether the deal happens or not. The noise around Atlanta is real. Every whisper, every rumor, every report is pulling the Falcons toward one truth: they're no longer content being passengers in their own story. They're ready to take the wheel. And if what becomes part of this journey? It could be the moment historians point to the spark that lit a fire the entire league felt. A new chapter is waiting for Atlanta. And whether this trade goes through or not, the Falcons have already shown something important: they're done being quiet. They're done being patient. They're done being overlooked. A storm is building in Atlanta. And the league is starting to notice.